Good evening. The time is now 7 o'clock, and I'm going to call to order the meeting of the Merrimack Planning Board. Just a few things to go over. When you are speaking, please make sure that your microphone is on and you introduce yourself and your address before you tell the board what you are going to go over. I also want to remind that the next meeting of the Planning Board is June 7th, 2022 at 7 p.m. here in the Matthew Thornton Room. Next on the agenda is the Planning and Zoning. Stop. Nelson, I almost did it again. Nelson, let me put you in a voting member position for Neil tonight.
Thank you.
Good. Now, Planning and Zoning Administrator's Report. Casey, what do you have for us tonight?
I have nothing for you guys this evening.
Great, thank you very much. Next, members, this is the first night I believe we have this, is the consent agenda. Casey, do you want to go over what you've put on that for us?
Yeah, sure. So there's only one item on your consent agenda tonight. It is the regional impact determination. Tonight there is only the home and health and hospice care project at 210 Natticook Road. Staff recommends that this is not a regional impact.
Now, since there's only one thing on that agenda, would we just pass the consent agenda still, or just treat it as
Yeah,
we
yeah,
usually-
it would collect any items under the consent agenda with one motion, but tonight there's only one item.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do we hear a motion agreeing with the regional impact determination of staff?
So moved.
So moved by Mr. Disco, seconded by Ms. Healy. Any further discussion? All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed, all abstaining. That's 4-0-0 for determination of regional impact. Okay. On to the agenda. Item 4 is Chris Ross and 702 Daniel Webster Highway, continued review for acceptance and consideration of final approval for a conditional use permit and site plan to construct a 592-unit self-storage facility. The parcel is located at 702 Daniel Webster Highway in the C2 General Commercial District. That's tax map 7E, lot 023-01, case Planning Board 2022-14. Now, I'm seeing that, I just had it in front of me, that the applicant is requesting to push this item indefinitely. Do I have a motion as to that, or any further discussion regarding that, Mr. Disco?
In discussion, Mr. Chairman, I don't see putting something on an agenda for indefinites. When he's ready to come back, come get your act together and come back. I mean, just have it hanging there. It just doesn't make any sense to me, so.
Casey, do you have any input on that, if there's a difference? If
Yeah,
it makes
so
it any
it's
easier
an
for you.
indefinite continuance, so it won't be on the agenda until they come back and pay the re-notification fees.
Okay. Nelson, any questions?
Yeah, I didn't quite hear
Oh.
what Casey said at the
So,
end.
yeah, so if you make a motion to have an indefinite continuance, the applicant can't come back before you until the applicant repays those notification fees to the abutters. So it's effectively what you're looking for, it sounds
Off
like.
until he comes back and asks again.
Yeah, well, why bother with this? Why just say it's not acceptable, and when you're ready to come back through the front door? What's the benefit here? I don't understand.
I guess it's the same paperwork and all of that we've already reviewed.
I can't hear.
Is my mic not working? So I don't think he would have to resubmit an application. It would be the same application. It's just a matter of re-notifying the abutters.
Well, I think he should send in a new application at that time, given what we've seen so far, which has been not much.
Well, I'm sure once he does pay the fees again, we'll have the exact same conversation as we did the first place, where he's gonna have to change that anyway, so.
So why do this?
From what it just makes it easier for staff, is what my understanding is.
Oh,
Just for paperwork reasons, is what I'm assuming.
I don't care for the motion. Yeah.
Any other discussion? Any other members? Ms. Healy?
So my understanding is that it gets carried on the agenda every meeting?
No.
No, so it would be
It just,
put off
it
indefinitely.
lays out there in the ether until they
Until he
decide to
has
come
to.
back?
For anything to be triggered, he would have to
I tend-
re-notify abutters.
I tend to agree with Mr. Disco that when you're ready, then come
Ready to
back.
Come back, yeah.
So then we would be moving to reject this then?
Yeah, if that's where you want to go. Casey, if I'm understanding, if they don't want to push it indefinitely, they would just vote down. But I mean, to do that, we would still have to have, you would have to cite a specific reason as to why we're voting down the proposal.
Yeah, I guess
as
that's the issue. It's like you'd be taking an action on the application. So that this would allow the board to take no action at all and just push it out.
So instead, so when we usually have to turn something down, as we all know, you have to cite a specific thing in our laws or regulations. This just kind of saves us a step and saves staff the step of trying to defend that if he wants to take any action against that. So
It's incomplete at this time.
that's what she's saying. So it would
Yeah.
be easier just to
So that would be
indefinitely
my
push it.
reason. I would make a motion to reject this request because the application is not complete.
Do we hear a second for Mr. Disco's motion?
Second.
Seconded by Ms. Healy. Any further discussion on the motion? Casey, any input? Did you get
Nope.
all that?
Yep.
All in favor to reject this proposal based on the grounds that it is incomplete, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? All abstaining. That's 4-0-0 to reject the application. Next on the agenda, item number 5 is 8 Jennifer Drive LLC. This is review for acceptance and consideration of final approval of a waiver of full site plan review for an expansion of an assisted living use, increase of 12 beds, bringing the on-site total to 40. The parcel is located at 8 Jennifer Drive in the I-1 Industrial, Aquifer Conservation, and Elderly Housing Overlay Districts. Tax map 4D-4, lot 064. This is case number Planning Board 2022-19. Matt, before I get to you, Casey, on that last item, since we actually took action, would we have had to have opened up the public hearing?
No, you wouldn't have the public hearing open until after acceptance anyways.
Because we didn't accept them in the first
Right.
place. Okay, thank you, Casey. Applicant, please introduce yourself and tell us what you have.
All right. Good evening. Matt Peterson here with Keach Nordstrom Associates, representing the proposed expansion of 12 beds at 8 Jennifer Street, known as Rose Haven Assisted Living. I think most of you probably have the aerial in front of you there. I assume most of you understand where this is in town, what it was beforehand. We are here tonight to continue the reopening and hopefully expansion of this facility that's operated in America and Merrimack for decades. Just a quick history. I think most of you might have read the Union Leader article from 2020. This facility closed in 2020 due to the COVID pandemic and trying to make their numbers work and everything in the facility to be operational. However, at that time, my client came forward and purchased it, which was allowed us to continue the operation. The first step was to go to the zoning board and ask for this expansion from 28 beds to 12 beds. I think it's been pretty obvious, well, anybody that goes to grocery stores or does anything these days, operating and running anything these days has gotten a little more expensive. We'd like to keep this facility in town, keep this facility in the state. That Union Leader article spoke to the deficiencies of these types of facilities in New Hampshire, specifically ones that are operated by local people and not by big corporations that are just trying to jack up the prices on people that are out there. So this here was our second step after the variance was granted to expand to 40 beds. We are not proposing anything external of the site that's there. The previous owners was a family that ran it for decades, and every single family member had their own office. And I'm even hearing that the cook had his own office in the building as well. So for my client, there was a lot of misuse space that he just doesn't have those type of people that need the offices. So we'd like to convert those units to beds. We can get into the specifics on each unit as we go through, but it was about 4 on the first floor, another 4 on the second, and 4 on the third, right? So it was almost broke up each way on each floor. The first floor was mainly the offices for the existing people, and then there were just some misused offices and space and stuff like that that we've gone through and utilized for that. Obviously, this is the outside of the facility that's there. My client over the last year, to make sure that he can do this, has been working with the fire department, been working with the state agencies as well, to make sure that everything that's going into this facility and the modifications can be done as he's moved this forward. The site plan here, I'm utilizing from a recorded plan that was submitted to the town back in the day. We did not go back out and do any survey yet or put anything onto these plans that are here. Again, we were hoping to get to this step through this step here because everything is internally being done with this new expansion, and we're not proposing anything on the outside that's there. One of the things, Nelson, you'll notice on this site here, we do not have off-site sidewalks. We have on-site sidewalks to make sure people can circulate throughout the site. We don't want them to be wandering off down the street and stuff like that. So we do have them on-site for what we do have. As I said, you know, basically these rooms here, 111, 112 is the other one, right? And then 105, 104, these were offices, and we're just looking to convert them to bedrooms. On the second floor, we had areas that were in here that was an office. We had this in here was just kind of space that could be reutilized. And then I think you said this was an office back in here, correct?
Yep.
And then on the third floor, so you can see it all lays out very conducive to what was there. It's filling in some extra beds that are there. We are requesting 2 waivers on this application. The first waiver is for full site plan approval, full site plan waiver. As I said, I've submitted a recorded plan that was submitted to the town back in 1997. It gives you a very good understanding of what is out there today. There are a few modifications if you drove out there that aren't shown on this plan, but they aren't conducive to what we are here tonight for, so I felt that this was more than enough information for you guys to make your determination on. The second one is related to parking. Due to the fact that our residents don't typically have cars, I looked at the Google Maps for the last 15 years or so. They get a little blurry when you get back to 1997 and 96, but I couldn't find any time that there were more than 4 to 5 cars on site. Again, we've had one person typically that has owned a car. Most of the clients that bring their family members to them would rather them not be able to drive. That's kind of what we are for. So by adding these extra beds, if you take the calculation of one person for 28 beds currently, it comes out to about 0.3 per bedroom. You times that by 40, it comes out to 1.45 cars per 40 beds that we could anticipate having. We anticipate needing 1 staff member per 10 residents. So if we get the full of the 40, we need about 10. We need 4 cars for 4 staff members to help them out there. That would still leave us the 3 extra spaces that are staying on the plan as far as 7 to accommodate anybody that did have a car. And obviously, if we couldn't accommodate somebody, you know, with a car, they just would look for somebody else. But this just hasn't been that type of facility since the years it's been working at. At this point, that's kind of really all we're looking for. I'll keep it short and entertain any questions or comments that the board and staff might have. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Peterson. Casey, back to you. Did you have anything you wanted to say on this item? Any staff notes at all?
Just perhaps, I believe the board could have a discussion about how to handle a plan that's from 1997, am I correct? In terms of making any kind of updated notes. The advice that we got from the NHMA was to just simply staple the decision letter to this old plan to make it clear that there is this change internally to the building. Otherwise, I believe the applicant would need to hire their engineering firm to create brand-new plans, being unable to mark up another firm's plan set. Or they could simply seek permission from this other firm. That's another idea. But just what is the board comfortable with approving tonight?
Thank you, Casey. I know it's always been my personal preference that we have new plans anytime anything in town gets done, but granted, these plans are from the 40s, like some of them that I've seen come before us, so it's really up to the rest of the board.
Yeah.
I don't know what everybody else's feelings are. Mr. Disco, go ahead.
My feeling is that we can go with the plan that we have, that it'd be unnecessary work to make a new plan that would basically be the same as this, as far as like anything that shows on the plan is concerned. Well, I have other questions if you want to
Please, no,
continue
go
this
ahead.
discussion. I wanted to ask about the parking. He mentioned, I didn't get the total parking you're looking for on site right now is 6 or
So
8?
currently, right now, in this corner here, there's 7 spaces
Yeah,
from the 1997 that was there.
uh-huh,
So we've run all our calcs based on that 7. And what I was told you is that with 40 residents, we're anticipating 4 staff members, which would
Okay.
still allow us 3 spaces if we needed any residents that wanted parking.
if you needed visitors,
Yeah.
you must have occasional visitors that require parking.
I would assume so,
Right.
yes.
You
So we
recognize there's
still
no
have-
parking on the street?
Yes, we do.
Yeah, okay, that should be,
Not to cut you off, Nelson, but that 4 staff members, is that just nurses or is that cooking, administrative staff, cleaning staff?
That's depending on the shift, that's what will be there. So at night, there's less, because most of the time they're sleeping. Second shift, there's less. Third shift, there's only 2. So the first shift, there's between 4 and 5, depending on if there is a visitor or the throughway through the fire lane is kind of how the delivery trucks deliver food, so they don't take up a parking space to do that. So the parking spaces really are for the employees and the guests, and there's plenty. I think one thing to mention again that Matt had said is the same family was here for 30 years using the same square footage. So all we're doing is taking a desk out and putting a bed in to allow us a resident. We're still using the same square footage. We're not doing a single modification to the building that hasn't already been completed in order to accommodate the residents. So when we did the renovations between the last owners and now, we upgraded the entire building's alarm to today's standard. That's already done. We had a fire protection engineer come in and assess, and we made the changes through the building department and the Deputy Fire Chief Manueli to the sprinkler system. That's done. So all the renovations that need to be completed have already been completed. So there won't be excessive construction trucks or anything like that that need to come in once the approvals are done.
one more question, having to do with the sewage. Did you contact the wastewater treatment department regarding additional sewage that would be needed with this?
No, I'm sorry, did you want to take that?
That's okay. It's a good question, man. I just didn't get to it yet.
The bathrooms that are there, the amount of bathrooms accommodate the amount of residents per the state statute for the Health and Human Services under the healthcare license. And again, we're running a different staff versus resident ratio because the family that was there were there. They had 4 of them living in part of the building full-time in an apartment. So the amount of people there is not going to be significantly different, even though it'll be residents as opposed to family living there and staff.
My question was, have you coordinated with
So-
the wastewater
Right.
treatment?
I will, that would have something we'll have to coordinate with, just if there's an extra fee they charge per person.
Oh,
So
yes,
they've got
okay, I'm sorry.
They've got a flow fee, so I will work that out. So I didn't even think of that, Nelson, honestly.
Okay. Okay, thank you.
All
That's
set,
all I
Mr.
have.
Disco. Ms. Healy?
Question for you, actually several questions, sorry. What level of care are these patients?
So it's what's called an 804 license, which is, they call it assisted living.
Okay,
So it's no memory impairment, it's no hospice.
Rest home
it's-
level.
Correct.
for all intents and purposes,
Yes.
ambulatory?
They have to be able to self-evacuate and be ambulatory. They can't be bedridden or anything like that. They don't, at this license, it's not allowed.
Okay, and I lost count of how many offices you're changing to patient rooms. So how many
12
rooms is
total
that?
beds.
That's 12,
12 beds,
Is-
rooms, I'd have to look at the,
is that 6? Is it 2? Is it,
So you're
I think
adding,
it's
you're
8.
adding 12 beds, correct?
I think it's
Yeah.
8 rooms, 12 beds.
Oh, because you put 2 beds in one.
Some of the rooms are very large and have 2 beds in it, like a couple.
Okay.
Would be, yeah. Yeah, so right there, 104 and 105 and 111, excuse me, each have 2 in them.
And so, tacking on to Mr. Disco's, so actually, you're not adding any bathrooms. They will have to be ambulatory to get to the hall and get to the bathroom.
Correct, so the bathroom count meets the state requirement for the 804 license with 40 beds.
Okay, so let me go back to the parking, because you have one administrator for the house, right? And then you might have a director of professional services or nursing, and you would have at least one RN, one LPN on board to
No.
administer meds? No. So then your nursing staff, per se, are 4 certified nursing assistants?
So it's roughly 1 per 10, but one of those 4 would be a med tech, who would be the one responsible for assisting with the medication. A lot of not a lot, but some of the residents we have now have their doctor's letters where they take
So
their own
they
medication.
self-administer? Okay.
Yep. The director is in and out. The director is also does sales, so she spends most of her time on the road as
Doing
opposed
it,
to
yeah.
in the office. The cook comes in, but he's on odd shifts, so he comes in, cooks and prepares meals, and the assistants will cook, dinner, or if he's cooking dinner, they'll cook a breakfast he prepared.
So there's only one kitchen staff that comes in and out during the day, and they do all the cleanup and the dishes and everything after the meal is over?
And the aides help as well.
And the aides help as
Yep.
well. And who does the cleaning of the facility itself?
The aides, and then we have a cleaning person come in as necessary, depending on the amount of people that are there at any given time.
Okay, and any OT, PT coming in the house at all?
I'm unsure what that is, I'm sorry.
Occupational therapy, physical therapy,
No,
any
that's all
kind
done
of
off-site
therapy?
at the doctor's or place that they chose.
And recreational therapy?
Same,
None.
none.
So
I
all
don't
you're
believe so.
providing is room and board and maybe a little bit of assist from a med tech position?
Yeah, it's activities, there's other things that they do, but the medical, because of the restrictions of the license, they can have somebody come there for physical therapy, but it has to be something where the person who needs the physical therapy is still able to self-evacuate in the fire, still able to essentially get up on their own without, or very limited assistance, and evacuate the building. So that kind of limits the amount of physical therapy we're able to do there.
Right,
Which, if they needed it, they'd have to do it, at a rehab place
right.
where they're
So you'd have
suited
to
for
take them, you'd have to bus them to an ambulatory
that.
PT type
To
operation?
them, in past experience, if let's say they had a fall and they had to go to the hospital, they would go from the hospital to a rehab facility until they were able to get up out of bed on their own and evacuate, then they could come back. Because if there was a fire in the middle of the
Right,
night,
well,
staff
because
is,
you're not a subacute,
correct, staff is reduced, and so they have to be able to, with minimal assistance, evacuate on their own. So we haven't done any physical therapy in-house yet.
okay.
Um,
Are you going in that direction?
I would assume if it was light, like it was a shoulder or something like that, we could accommodate them. But as of right now, it's all off-site, because we don't want to have someone in and they can't get out on their own.
Right,
And-
okay.
And most of the time, from what we've seen being open so far, is it's usually a hip or a knee or something where they need to be at a
Right.
facility until they can evacuate on their
And
own.
all of those rooms on the first floor, and you got a couple up on the second floor,
Mhm.
they are adequately prepped for evacuation?
Yep, so
quickly?
when we did the renovations and through our work with the building inspector, Mr. Manuelli, and the Health and Human Services at the state level, we made sure that all the rooms were the right size, were the right square footage to meet a bedroom definition, windows, like I had previously mentioned, the alarm, the sprinkler system has 100% coverage. All that we did ahead of time in anticipation of hoping to use these rooms for residences.
Okay, thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Oh, and there's a rec room in there somewhere?
There's a lot of every floor has common space. So the residents are allowed to have what they want in their own rooms, but then there's common living
Right.
room and dining rooms on each floor.
Okay, yeah, I couldn't tell from the diagram, sorry.
That's okay.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Is it all, Ms. Healy?
That's it.
Mr. Dano, go
So
ahead.
I had some questions regarding the diagrams as well. So on the first floor, 103, would that be a common area that you're referring to?
Yes.
I wasn't sure if you're putting
Yep.
beds there. And then the bathrooms are denoted as 108, 107, 110, but there'd be no people in them, like
Correct.
sleeping.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, we numbered
Well, I
them that
mean-
way.
Could fall asleep on the toilet. I mean.
The reason they're numbered is the fire alarm. When we upgraded it to the 2021 code,
Okay,
the devices in the panel are labeled with a number
got it.
by the room. So we had to label every room with a number, and so
Oh,
we
that's why.
kind of transferred that onto the plan. This is the same plan we gave to the building inspector, the fire chief, the state, et cetera. And so we just kind of put a tag, a nice, similar to your name tag,
Yeah.
on each door to try to help identify the rooms for the fire department and any other personnel that needs it.
Perfect. That was my only question. So,
Okay.
thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, board members, we have yet to accept this application as complete. Like I said, usually I would like to require them to do a whole new plan, but, I mean, I agree with Mr. Disco that this plan is not that old, it's not that detailed, so I'd have no issue with them using it. I don't know if anybody else disagrees. Ms.
So
Healy,
you'd
did you
like
have
a-
something to say?
Yeah, you could hear me breathe.
I could. Go ahead, please.
My only thing is I had trouble understanding what the floor plan meant and what was going on with the rooms. I think you did as well. And therefore, I'm kind of leaning towards maybe they can upgrade the existing plan to be more succinct, to actually denote where the day rooms would be versus the patient rooms, because, like I said, that wasn't clear to me, which is why I had
You're
those
saying
questions.
on these plans here, you'd like them modified?
Well, I'd like them at least modified to show, like what's an SG? I think I saw that on one of them, yeah.
Oh, yeah. No, that, we can,
You know what I
we
mean?
can modify these
And
plans.
just modify it to show,
Which ones
okay.
are bedrooms, which are common space.
Yeah, and so that we have that,
On record.
a little bit clearer as to what's going on the floor plan.
These wouldn't be part of the site plan package?
And like, where's the kitchen? You know what I mean? Where are the utility rooms? Where's your clean utility room? Where's your dirty utility room?
Right there in
I
LN is
understand.
laundry. I can't see
And
the
what's a
number.
DR?
Oh, LN, right?
Oh, dining room.
Dining room.
Okay, got it.
Dining room, yeah. Exit, E. Kitchen, K.
Yeah.
What's
You know what I mean?
SR?
Only because your utility room,
Storage room.
especially your
Storage
dirty room, that may be a source of interesting stuff that's in there. And if you're storing chemicals in there, the fire department would need to know that as well and where the location is. They're not gonna get it from this. Sorry. But I would say it needs to be modified at least, at minimum.
I'm sure that would be, I don't think the building inspector would give you an occupancy permit based on these drawings, but I mean, we're just dealing with the site plan itself. So, what they're pulling in from 1997 is the site plan. They just drew these up, I'm assuming, just to give us a little clarity as to what's happening inside.
Yes.
Yeah, so. Do we have any further discussion?
No.
Do we have any motions regarding the completeness of this application? Mr. Disco,
Chairman,
please.
I'll make a motion to accept this plan as complete. Do we need to act on waivers before we do that, or
Completeness.
help me
No,
out?
you would
Keith?
vote on completeness before
Yeah.
voting on waivers.
You mean for the parking waiver?
Well, yeah,
Yeah.
for instance, yeah. So we can accept it and then make the modifications for the.
Yeah, you can discuss the waivers after.
Afterwards.
Yep.
Okay, then in that case, my motion will be to accept the plan as complete.
Motion made by Mr. Disco,
I'll second.
seconded by Mr. Dano. Do I have any further discussion on the motion? Ms. Healy?
Clarification. So to clarify, because I'm seeing that the plan needs more work, is it considered complete?
Well, because the plans that you want clarified don't necessarily fall under our jurisdiction,
Yeah,
Casey?
yeah, that's
For
correct.
the interior rooms?
Barbara, so those, the floor plans are not necessarily part of the site plan. They're not necessarily planning board issues. We don't require floor plans to be included in a site plan. So when they go for their building permits, I'm assuming that the building inspector would ask for those floor plans, but it's not related to, planning board discussion.
What I'd offer,
Yeah.
Barbara, on that is the waiver request is to do the survey and the engineering for a site plan. The architectural you're looking for is to have a clean package that if anybody looks this up 10 years, 20 years down the road, they understand where these beds went. And I'm telling you right now, we would make that correction and give it to Casey's staff on those plans for you that would show what those are.
Thank you.
But that's not the site plan waiver we're asking for.
And you will do that,
Yeah.
And we will do the architectural one, yes.
because you will be back for something else.
2 weeks from now.
And I do apologize to you guys. I don't mean to pick you
No.
apart so
No, that's
much,
fine.
but I was a director of nursing at a subacute. Could you guess?
It's perfect.
Just to clarify that, what Bob was saying.
And actually, it's great that you're opening so that we have this type of facility back in Merrimack
Thank
again,
you.
so thank you.
Is that all we're doing with this motion is saying that they don't need to go out there and remeasure the property and
do all that.
Survey.
that's it.
Yep.
Any further discussion? We do have a motion on the floor to accept it as complete. All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed, all abstaining. That's 4-0-0, Casey, for completeness. Next is the waivers, and I'm seeing only, I just had it right in front of me, one waiver for the parking. There it is.
As long as, Casey, would you say accepting it, they waive the site plan on that? I mean, technically, you should do a vote to,
Yeah, so I think what we normally do for these waiver of full site plan review applications is that under the waiver portion of your discussion, you do make a motion to either grant or deny the waiver request for the waiver from the whole site plan review process. They have also submitted a separate waiver that's specific to the parking issue here.
Okay, I gotcha. So then we have two waivers, one which we already pretty much agreed upon, and then the second one is the parking waiver. So, do I hear a motion for either of those?
Okay. Oh, you want a motion now before you open for discussion and all of that?
Yeah,
That's
just for the
okay,
waiver,
yeah.
since we already pretty much decided on the waiver of full site
I
plan
will
review.
move to grant a waiver of the parking requirement due to the unnecessary hardship it would cause to this applicant.
Did you want to handle the full site plan review at the same time, or do you want to handle those separately?
I thought by accepting it, oh, okay, I can,
Yeah, you can make it
That's
all in
what I
one
thought as
motion
well
if you
until-
want.
Yeah, Casey just said we have to do them,
we have to do them both.
we have to accept it as complete and then also waive the site plan review.
Okay, and she wants separate motions for the two waivers?
You could, it's up to you. You can do one motion if you want.
Okay, well, my motion then would be to waiver the parking requirement and to, what was the other? what was the
Full
other?
site plan
The
review.
the full site plan
Correct.
review, yeah.
I have a motion made by Nelson Disco to approve both waivers of full site plan review and the parking requirements. Do I hear a second? Seconded by Mr. Dano. Do I see any further discussion? None being heard. All in favor of that motion to approve both waivers, say aye. All opposed, all abstaining, that's 4-0-0 to approve both waivers. Okay, now, with the waivers being dealt with, I'd now like to open the public hearing at, can't even see my watch, 7:35. Anybody as a member of the public that wishes to stand forward and speak on this issue, please do so now. Sir, if you'd please just make sure the microphone is on and introduce yourself, I'd appreciate it.
I am Mark Twodowski, manager of Three Palms LLC. We own 3 and 5 Jennifer. We've been before the planning board numerous times between 25 Greeley, 3 Jennifer, 5 Jennifer, for upcoming construction we're still doing. I've known the family that owned this property for at least 20 years. Great family, you know, really heartbreaking to see him go. But I really look forward to working with the new owners. I think they're gonna be good neighbors. I think it's great for Merrimack to have this, you know, to lose our own little, you know, niche where we can take care of our elderly is a blessing in Merrimack, so I'm all in favor of it. I definitely would like to see this go through. Yep.
Thank you,
Thank
Mr.
you.
Twardowski. Any other members of the public wish to speak? Not seeing any, I'm going to close the public hearing at 7:35. Applicant, please step forward. Do we have any further discussion on this, board members, before we take final action? None being seen, do I have a motion?
I will make a motion to approve the plan as submitted with the, as we've noted. With one thing, with the conditions that were suggested by the staff, and to include that they review their wastewater needs with the Merrimack wastewater treatment facilities.
Motion made by Mr. Disco. Ms. Healy, did I hear a second from you? Did you get that, Casey? Okay. Motion made and seconded. Do I have any further discussion? All in favor of the motion of conditional approval, say aye. Aye. All opposed, all abstaining. That's 4-0-0 to approve. Thank you, Mr. Peterson. Good luck.
Thank you very much. Have a great night.
Next, our agenda is item 6 is Home Health and Hospice. This is review for acceptance and consideration of final approval of a site plan review to construct 2 building additions totaling 8,168 square feet with associated site improvements. The parcel is located at 210 Natticook Road in the R4 Residential and Aquifer Conservation Districts. This is tax map 2B, lot 324-02-01, case number Planning Board 2022-20. Casey, do you have any input on this item?
Nope, not at this time.
Thank you. If the applicant could please introduce himself and herself and tell us what you have.
Yeah, 1 second, Barbara. I'm just loading.
My first time.
Please take your time.
All right, good evening, Mr. Chair, members of the Merrimack Planning Board. I'm Jason Hill with TF Moran. I'm here on behalf of the applicant. I'm here with Barbara LaFrance of the hospice, who I'm just gonna allow a brief moment to just present the background to you all tonight. I'm also here with the project architect, Robert Schaefer, to present basic architectural details and answer any questions you may have. I have one waiver request for illumination plan, which I've digitally submitted it, but I have hard copies if necessary. But I will just let Barbara give a brief presentation, and then I'll just open it up to my own presentation, if that's okay with you all.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Please go
Good
ahead.
good evening, everybody. I'm Barbara LaFrance, Chief Clinical Officer at Home Health and Hospice Care. Our main office is at 7 Executive Park Drive. We own and operate the hospice house at 210 Natticook Road. We have since the year 2000. It's a 10-bed facility and a life care. We've appreciated Merrimack's community support throughout our years, and as the growth in the community continues with our age of population, we see the need to expand 6 more beds. We do care for 130 hospice patients in our community, and oftentimes they need more residential acute care, and so that the hospice house is needed for those patients.
Okay,
Thanks,
thank you.
Barbara. So, tonight, just gonna let you know where we're at with things. We've submitted, obviously, the application, the waiver request. We have received comments from Fuss and O'Neill recently, as well as some staff comments. We are meeting with the Conservation Commission on Monday. This is sites within the Aquifer Protection District. There's a lot of properties within that district, so we're meeting with them Monday to present. And this is projected to hopefully be able to get into construction in the summer. You know, there's some licensing and permitting that the applicant's doing with the state on the behalf of the building design for the addition that's going on. So this site is at 210 Natticook Road, which is on the south end of town. It's adjacent to Continental Boulevard, basically just north of the intersection with Amherst Street or 101A. It's a 4.5 acre parcel, which is obviously has the existing facility, and it's surrounded primarily by residential and open space. Barbara mentioned the existing facility is 10 beds. We're proposing an expansion of six patient suites, which would contain each its own bed and patient, with patios for access to the open space outdoor facilities, with an existing sidewalk and park kind of network courtyard area in the middle of the site. We're in the R4 district. This is on sewer and water. Basically, that's the context of this site. We've met with the zoning board to receive a variance for the expansion and the use earlier in the spring or the winter. Received that variance to produce this plan before you today. So basically, the scope of the project is, as you're looking at this color plan, we have two new wings, proposed building additions. A single-story patient care pod addition is the larger building addition that's on the south side of the plan. That's 6,060 feet in this position, and that would contain the 6 new patient suites. Additionally, there's a new service support wing on the north side of the site that's 1,908 square feet, and that's designated for storage of medicine and new diagnostic equipment, training room, break room, staff restroom. It'll basically assist the nursing and administrative staff, you know, in their roles, on this within this facility. As Barbara mentioned, these additions are being sought due to the high demand that's existing in the community and in southern New Hampshire. There's an existing roughly 48 parking spaces that exist on the site, which are around this circular drive, and there's a parking field off the side here that is more than adequate for our intended existing use as well as the proposed addition. The regulations require less than the 48 existing spaces, so we're not proposing any new parking because we do not foresee the demand, and we're providing more than the minimum requirements by a factor of at least 2. Like I said, there's some past this interior courtyard area where we're going to reorganize some of the sidewalk connections to and from the facility. And there's a sidewalk around the perimeter with access to Christina Avenue, which is the dead end, which there's an existing sidewalk connection, which will just be relocated to around the perimeter. We're proposing a drainage system for the increase in impervious area. The waiver for lighting is such that with this proposal, there's existing site lighting on the facility for the parking areas and some of the main walkway sequences. The proposed building additions do not require any site lighting. There'll be emergency lighting, a couple of emergency lights, that are controlled by a manual switch inside the building that will be provided in case of the emergency need, but those lights are not proposed to be utilized on a daily or semi-daily basis. So for those reasons, I felt the illumination plan would, we meet the spirit of the regulation by my statement made, which I'll incorporate by record in the waiver request, which I have with me by hard copy if necessary. So we just feel that this emergency lighting design, is a waiverable condition for this project. That's the overview. I'd like Robert to, unless you'd like the architecture to be skipped, I'd like Robert to give a brief overview of the building elevations. And then I'd just like to open it up for any questions. Thanks.
Go ahead.
Yes. I'm just gonna go to the elevations and look.
Good evening, Robert Schaefer, Vari Schaefer and Diamond Architects. So we'll start with the elevations as we have here. The lower left one, called the New Care Pod North elevation. On the right side of that is existing. On the left is the new addition. The goal for this design is not to make a statement, and is to make it blend seamlessly with the existing facility, so it looks like it's always been there. All the finishes would be comparable, if not the same. Some things have changed over the years, so we'll take advantage of those where they seem appropriate. But the windows, the doors, all the aspects of the architecture, the design, the detailing would match what is there currently. If you want to zoom out, we could just walk around the show. So on the right is the back elevation of the new pod, which would resemble the other elevations of the existing facility of where the beds are.
So it'd be like from the from the dead-ended road
Yep, from the
perspective, yeah.
that side. There are 4 patios, as you can see there. This is the opposite side of the first one we looked at, where on the left is the existing, on the right would be the new, with the connector between them, opening with plenty of glass on it to open up and try to get that to appear as on the interior, be connected and be one facility on the outside, give landscaping around it and things like that. So the windows will give you a nice experience walking through the connector. Then the top ones are the new pod, new end to the support facility, extending out and creating additional storage where that garage door is at the very end, and then where the high peaked and large window area is the training facility. In the back would be a break room, bathroom, and it loosens up the interior support areas for some other functioning, like the kitchen can expand a little bit, the laundry can move to a little bit larger room, things of that nature, so that the interior facility can function more efficiently and appropriately for the care that they provide. Let's move to, we just quickly go to, we have the floor plan, roughly, so
Is
it's,
this one okay, or should I proceed?
we'll go the big
The
one
one?
first, the
Okay.
overall one, then I can jump back to this. So there's the overall facility with the additions added. In the central area is the existing facility, main entrance at the bottom right there with the 6 pillars and the line around it. That's the entry canopy. The support addition is there on the left, just extending what's currently there now. And you can see the rooms that I explained a moment ago. If you go back out in the upper right, that is the new bed pod, 6-bed pod. It's modeled after the one on the left. The one at the left end of the existing is a 6-bed. This is modeled after that, except it says additional nurse desk in it and some support rooms in it to provide for the functions of that space on their own. If you go back out, so now you can see the overall, as you come in the facility, you would turn right, go up, and that would all blend together as one facility. On the left is existing, and then from there, and then the support wing to the bottom left. And then I think these are just larger scale versions of the same, just for your, see it a little bit better scale. We can do the other pod too. Same with this one. You see the 6 beds and the central support area with nurse's desk and supporting rooms around it. I think that should be it,
It is.
right? So, I guess, and we'll do questions at the end. Does that make sense? Or is that, unless you had questions
Yes.
now?
This is just some images of the existing facility, just photographs to see, how nicely done it is, and so you have a reference point of, the proposed, style, architectural style.
Where that bench is located, from there to the left is where the new pod would be located, right in that general area.
we're proposing, I'll just finish with some landscaping. We submitted the plan that show the proposed landscaping, which primarily, because it consists of just foundation screening, and we have some specimens, you know, I would call them, I'm not a landscape architect, but a few new shade trees within this courtyard park area. I think it obviously has a nice look to it, and it has an attractive landscape design. So we're continuing along with the matching of the type of specimens of the shrubbery and such for this project. And I believe this is irrigated, so it would be, the intent would be just to utilize the existing irrigation system. So, we've submitted a traffic memorandum and just to outline the proposed limited traffic impacts, and I'll just leave that as part of your package, and if there's any questions on that as well, feel free to ask. Thanks.
Is that all you have?
Yes.
Okay, board members. Do you have any questions for the applicant before we jump into completeness and everything else?
I didn't get the traffic plan. Was it submitted with our packages?
I did not see the plan itself, but I did see the summary of it. There was one added new traffic trip at height, and other than
Yeah,
Where
that.
did you see that?
We submitted the traffic memorandum with our application to the board.
I was really asking the staff if they.
Yeah, no, I don't think that was included in your packet.
Okay, why not? Please take a note for the
Okay,
future.
I'll mention it for next
Thank you.
time.
Yeah, you're right. In general, the peak traffic new trips was one.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't see
But-
this as a traffic problem.
No, but I understand what you're
It's just
saying.
a matter of getting the data in time. Thank you.
Any other questions for the applicant right now?
I have other questions, but in general,
Did we want to move on to completeness before we jump into other questions?
I think as far as I'm concerned, I think it's complete. And we did get a landscape plan. I was looking for that. Is there a landscape plan in here somewhere?
Yes, there is a landscape
Yes, it
plan. I
was.
don't know the exact page number.
It is the very last page, Nelson.
Nelson, look for that one.
Oh, that's it. Okay, thank you. Yeah, I
C7
did get
probably.
that. I didn't, okay. It doesn't really identify what's new and what's old and, or what they are. But, having seen what these people have done in the past here, looks like they're gonna model it after what's already there. I have no objections. In fact, I think they've done a really nice job with it,
Thank you.
yeah.
Thank you, Mr. Disco. Do I hear a motion as to the completeness of the item?
So moved.
Moved by Ms. Healy. Do I hear a second? Seconded by Mr. Disco for completeness. Do I hear any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor of accepting this application as complete, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed, all abstaining. That's 400 for completeness. Now, board members, we have one waiver to deal with regarding the illumination plan. Do we have any questions for the applicant, or we just want to have a discussion?
Mr. Chairman, I agree with the applicant's discussion and argument as far as lighting is concerned. This place doesn't have people wandering around at night, especially in the backyard, which is where we would be talking about. Be more of an annoyance to the neighbors than anything else. So I think I'm willing to waiver the requirement for a lighting plan based on the discussions we've had here.
Is that a motion?
I'll make it a motion if everybody's okay with that. I move that we accept the request for waiver, and due to the fact that it would be
Was it the hardship or?
an extreme hardship. This all was
It's a motion made by Mr. Disco to accept the waiver. Do I hear a second?
For lighting.
Seconded by Ms. Healy. Any further discussion on the waiver? Seeing none, all in favor of waiving the illumination plan, say aye.
Aye.
Aye, all opposed, all abstaining. That's 400 for the waiver. That being done, I am now going to open up the public hearing on this item at 7:55. Any members of the public that wish to step forward and speak on this item, please do so now. Sir, please. If you'd like to sit down, make sure the microphone is on and introduce yourself, and then tell us what you have.
My name is David Ranke. I'm a proud abutter to the hospice care facility. Been there since day one. 26 years I've lived at 12 Christina Road. The only issue that I have and it's probably not even an issue, but in their drawings, they do show a path, their pathway walking out and going all the way to Christina Road. And that does not happen right now. There's about a 5-foot barrier that's dirt, heavy gravel. At one time, then it was Christina Road, that road went all the way to their iron gate. And when they repaved, they left this space. And I'm asking if it's possible that that could be repaved at this time. Mainly because the snowplow operators, when they plow the snow all the way to the end of that street. And they plow left and right to leave the gate open, emergency gate open. And so they plow into the dirt and they leave a big mound of dirt, and nobody takes care of it. It's just one of those things that I have to go out and rake and rake out all the time. And I just was asking if it would be possible to have that paved for them. I mean, I think they're gonna create a path the way it looks on the drawings all the way to Christina now. This has been a great facility. I've lived there 26 years, and you don't even know it exists. I mean, that's the nice part about it. So it's a great addition to Merrimack. And that's my only concern.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Ranke. Do I have any other members of the public that wish to speak at this time? Seeing none, I'm going to close the public session at 7:58. And if the applicant can please return to the desk. In regards to what Mr. Ranke just brought up, I did see that you said it yourself that you are extending that path to Christina. Is that, I did not see that being paved on the plan.
Well, our design intent indicates that is showing some pavement here. And so the intent of the design is to tie into the existing, wherever the sidewalk ends, which Mr. Reiki explained was somewhere in this area where the road ends. So I would agree to extend the sidewalk an additional 10 to 20 feet to tie in on that base where within the right-of-way, where the road ends to the proposed relocated sidewalk.
Yeah, hold on. Now, as I'm looking at the picture you have up right now, it looks like the stretch that Mr. Ranke was talking about is not on your property, correct?
That's correct. That's the right-of-way of
It is the town right away.
town right-of-way.
Now, Casey, I don't know if they even are able to.
Yeah, you'd be trespassing.
Yeah, so I'm not sure if DPW would support that or not. I think that's something that they would want to review.
Okay.
So if there were to be an improvement in the right-of-way, I would recommend this application gets continued to another night so that DPW has a chance to comment on that.
Now, is the gate that he's talking about, is it on your property line? I'm assuming it's not in the
Yes.
public right away.
Correct.
saw a picture of it somewhere.
Did he? I thought I saw one too, and I couldn't find it in the
The
packet.
See if
color
they-
shows it stopping at the gate. It
Mhm.
does continue to the property line.
The photo here. I'll fucking- No, unless this has a street view from Google I could load. Can't see it here. Is this connected to the internet? Because I could load a street view from Google Earth.
I mean, just looking at,
But, you know, in terms of
we don't have,
pending DPW's approval on who's, I think it's such a small amount of work that, we wouldn't have a problem paving.
That would
an
be- that-
additional
that was my
minor
next statement.
section of sidewalk.
we don't have the power to tell you to pave something off of your property. That would be just being a good neighbor. But that would be something you would have to, as staff said, would have to clear by DPW.
Yeah.
Yeah, that would involve getting a right-of-way permit to do any kind
I
of work
wouldn't want
there.
something like that to get in the way of getting this approved, like having that sidewalk connection made, but we, as mentioned, we would like to improve the situation if necessary based on the testimony of the abutter, which I believe to be true and factual. So we'd offer that, and I'm not asking for a conditional approval tonight, I was gonna get into that later. But, I've reviewed the Fuss and O'Neill comments, there's several, yeah, like any project, but most of them, are pretty belt and suspenders, engineering comments, I'm an engineer, PE, so, these are not gonna, I believe the resolution of these comments will not change the material view of the project as presented today, i.e. like the building won't change, the side, so, and I'm not sure that the board's temperature on conditionally approving it subject to handling these offline, but I would like to see if if there was an appetite for that, I'd like that to be done, obviously.
That's, I would concur with that. Casey, I don't want to see this held up and pushed on to another night just for, something they're gonna have to ask for DPW anyways. Is there a way? The applicant's already said that he's willing to do it, just as being a good neighbor. Besides the fact we don't have the power to make him do it anyways, so.
Yeah, we'll work with DPW to address
Correct.
the comment made to the satisfaction of, the DPW and what's legally, allowable,
I don't see, once again, I don't speak for DPW, but I'd be very
We do
surprised
offsite
if,
improvements all the time on
Yeah.
projects, related to traffic and things like that, so it'd be no different, it's an offsite improvement, so.
okay.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, Mr.
I'm a
Disco.
little bit confused. The end of Christina, does it end in a cul-de-sac, or does it end as a,
It's a dead end.
It's one of the roads, the few ones left now that it just ends
it just ends?
as a road, so.
Okay.
Yep,
From looking at the plan, you can see Christina ends. Mr. Ranky said that used to be paved. I don't doubt that it did, but like those roads that just end, it kind of just breaks away and eventually goes back to the dirt. He wants to see that pavement from Christina extended to connect to the applicant's gate and that paved walkway.
Yeah, but I don't think we
That's why.
want that.
We can't tell them to do it anyways. I don't
No.
think DPW would have an issue, but that would be a DPW issue because that's,
And, I think it would not be appropriate to pave that all the way down to this gate. That wouldn't
Well, from
serve
what-
any purpose.
from my understanding, it's only, it looks
yeah, I
like
was
it's only
thinking
about
more
10
of like
feet.
if I thought he said that the sidewalk ended and it was just dirt, so there was no actual sidewalk connection. And I was thinking that we would make the sidewalk connection and not build Christina Road to the edge of the right of way, because that would allow the town no room for snow storage. Really, you're using that for plowing anyways, because it's the dead end of the road, so just maintaining a sidewalk connection was what I was
I don't-
getting at.
Yeah.
I was planning just to leave it to being, because we don't have any jurisdiction over that anyways, so that would have to be
We
just
can make
being,
We have a
recommendations.
photograph, if you'd like to see the.
but my point is that it's off of
Condition.
there.
One with the gate. You have one with the gate.
Yeah, there's, Robert has a.
Gates on
photograph,
their property.
If that would help anyone,
Yeah.
I'd submit that as.
Approach the bench.
Yeah, that's what I understood him to be saying as well.
Let's see. it just ends. Yeah,
The pavement ends, and then that's the sidewalk, and
Yeah.
after the gate, this is looking into the facility.
yeah. Yes, yeah.
Can I see that? See you later.
Mr. Chairman, I'm willing to let them work it out with Public Works without putting any specific requirements on it from us.
I would agree.
Say that they should meet with Public Works and discuss
A way to clean it up a
a
little
way to
bit.
clean it up and
Okay.
give you the authority to make the final decision, I guess is what we're doing.
Yep.
Yeah. Your applicant wants to speak, I mean, your butter wants to
My,
speak
my
again.
concern was not to cause any delay of this. My concern was that it be noted that this was something that could be done possibly because the materials are all gonna be there.
Thank you,
Because
Mr.
they're gonna have to redo the asphalt for the because this is an emergency exit
Thank you,
or
Mr.
entrance.
Gotcha. Thank you.
It's usually closed all the time, so.
So, just for the record, since he's not on a microphone, Mr. Ranky is saying he's not trying to hold anything up. He's just saying as long as they're working on it, like we're saying right now, just clean it up, work with whoever you need to work with.
Yes,
Once again, just good neighborly stuff.
yes.
Any other questions?
Okay. All right.
No,
Well,
so
wait a
we had
minute.
accepted it as completed. We have dealt with the waivers and we've already gone through public hearing, so do I hear any motions? Or any questions?
I
for
have
either
some
staff or-
questions.
Please,
yeah.
Mr. Disco, go ahead.
Okay, yeah. You mentioned, or I think you mentioned that you had discussed this with the Merrimack Fire Department is on board with this plan and,
Yeah, we provided them to Captain Manueli. I
Yeah.
don't have any written concurrence from him yet, but assume that would be something that would be addressed as a condition of the approval, would be written
Yeah.
documentation from the captain that he's reviewed the fire turning plan that was provided.
yeah.
And
Is
he's
that
okay.
in your notes, Casey? Regarding fire?
So we have not received comment back from the fire department at this time, but there is a condition
There is a con-
drafted that covers that, so when he
That's what
does
I
come
was
forward with
looking
the
for.
comment.
Thank you, I didn't see it.
Yep.
The other thing I didn't ask about was, I didn't see any changes to the kitchen or the food preparation area here. And obviously expanding, are you gonna need more room in that area, or is that taken care of with this little addition you made? You didn't mention anything about the kitchen area.
Essentially, at this point, it's gonna, the actual kitchen area will remain as it is. It's the storage area that will expand adjacent to it. So the laundry's moving down.
So there'll
In that
be enough
support area
with what you've got to service the additional, well, oh yeah, what was the total number of additional personnel you can accommodate here? I think you mentioned 10 at one point, and how many more? are we
Currently
gonna-
10 beds, and 6 will be added, and Barbara can answer on the staff.
Is that right? There's 10 now and 6 more. Is that
Right,
right?
yeah,
That's
so,
right.
so there'll probably be 3 more staff on board, because we'll be able to use the current management staff.
Yeah,
And as far as the kitchen, we're finding that a lot of our patients are not eating, so
Uh-huh.
we do as-needed menu diets,
yeah,
and so we have enough kitchen support
Yeah.
for that. So they don't
Okay.
have current meals.
okay. Okay, I just wanted to get the total number, and I think we've taken care of landscaping such as it is. And I have no further comments, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Disco. Does anybody else have any comments? Ms. Healy, please.
Will the rooms have piped-in oxygen, or are you relying on tanks?
Yeah, we're gonna have piped-in oxygen.
And fire knows about that?
Yes.
Because it's not on the plan, which is why I ask.
I didn't fully follow.
I asked if the rooms are going to have piped-in oxygen versus tanks, which means, you can hook into the wall because it's piped in,
Yes.
versus rolling in the big green tank for the oxygen.
Actually, on Thursday, the plumbing engineer is gonna be there with the consultant to review how to to specifically do that, but it is in the plan to do that. to
Okay,
pipe-
because like I
pipe
say,
in.
it didn't really show here, so
We-
if the fire was looking at the same
That's what we're looking at on
floor
Thursday.
plan, they wouldn't know there's piped in oxygen.
Right, and on Thursday, we're determining what is actually needed to protect the tanks, whether they can be inside, have to be
Or
outside
outside,
in the
yeah.
container. We just haven't gotten to that point yet.
Okay.
And got the consultant in.
And you're not really adding that many more staff, so is somewhere in the nurses' station area or the break room, is there storage areas for the staff?
Yes, yes, we'll be putting some locker rooms for the
Okay,
staff,
good.
which,
And what's the training room for? Just curious. Sorry.
To bring in some external training physicians and
Okay,
for palliative hospice training.
I was just curious.
Yeah, it's a great facility, and to be able to spread our knowledge
Mhm.
is a wonderful thing.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Healy. Any other members?
No, I'm all set, Mr. Chairman.
At this time, I'm willing to entertain a motion regarding approval.
Okay. I will make a motion to approve the plan as submitted with those changes that we've made to the staff memo regarding review by the fire, and which I guess is in there after all. And I think that was the only thing that was left hanging.
I'll second that.
Motion made by Mr. Disco, seconded by Mr. Dano. Do we have any further discussion regarding the motion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, all abstaining, that's 4-0-0 for conditional approval.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Good luck.
Thank you all.
Tell Dylan I say hello.
Next item on our agenda is 526 Daniel Webster LLC, review for consideration of an amendment to a previously approved site plan regarding changes to the paving of the emergency access lane, the installation of bollards, directional arrows on the pavement, and landscaping. The parcel is located at 526 Daniel Webster Highway in the C2 General Commercial, Aquifer Conservation, and Elderly Housing Overlay Districts and Wellhead Protection Area. This is tax map 5D-2, lot 001, case number Planning Board 2022-21. Casey, do you have any input on this application before we hear from the applicant?
I do, but I'd like the applicant to make a presentation first, and then I'll
Thank you,
put my
Casey.
2 cents in.
The applicants will
Yep.
please introduce themselves and then show us what you have.
Yes, my name is Eric Mitchell. My office prepared these plans. With me also here is Charles Morgan, who is the owner of the property. And the site plan has been approved. It's been done in different phases. The last building is complete and finished. There were some things relative on the site that we've asked for, I guess, general waivers. And you had mentioned them in your introduction to what this is. Simply put, the building is done. It's been ready to pretty much moved in. Charlie can tell you about the permits and all that kind of stuff. We had been before the board to ask for a waiver on, I believe, postponing the work on the sidewalk until the springtime, which now it's past springtime, but the sidewalk has been put in, and the landscaping along TW Highway has also been put in. So what's remaining is there's a little bit of more pavement work to do at the northerly entrance, and for the most part, though, everything has been complete. What has been done on site is that the area that goes around the current building that is waiting to be occupied, the fire lane around there was originally shown as being asphalt, and the proposal is to put in a reclaimed asphalt as opposed to hard asphalt, and that's been approved by the fire department. It's been used in other portions of the site. And so that's one change. Second change is that we had bollards that were shown along the front of the building, and also the pavement striping for directional arrows. Those we're asking for those not to have to be put in. I don't know if it's a waiver per se, whether it's part of the regulations, but it's a general waiver that we have asked for on those. Lastly, there is a small area on the southwest corner of the building, which was supposed to be landscaped. And what the proposal is to pave it and put a split rail fence up against the building. The area itself is about 1,000 square feet. I know that there's, in the staff memo, there's been some question about creating more impervious, and they would like to have a letter from the engineer to the work, which we can get. And what I can say is, it's about 1,000 square feet of additional paving instead of landscaping, but the entire area going around the building for the fire access is not gonna be paved. It's gonna be crushed asphalt, which is, it's not completely pervious, but it's more than what conventional pavement. So I have no issues with knowing that we're not gonna have any increase in runoff by having that, maintaining that area to be paved. So that project is just about ready to go, and we just have these final details to get acceptance by the board on.
Thank you. Casey, you said you had input on this application?
Yes, I just wanted to point out early in the conversation that there is one condition that's not in writing that we would like included if the board chooses to approve this tonight. And that would be the requirement to have a letter stamped by a professional engineer approving the increase in impervious surface and an updated stormwater report.
Thank you, Casey. Members, we have yet to accept this application as complete. We'd like to handle that before we dive into questions.
Okay.
So moved.
Moved by Mr. Dano. Do I hear a second?
I'll second.
Seconded by Mr. Disco to accept the application as complete. Do I hear any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, all abstaining. That's 4-0-0 to accept the application as complete. Mr. Disco, it looks like you have a question.
Well, I will in a minute. Give me
Okay.
a second to catch up
You
here.
take your time.
We've been asked for several things here. Maybe we should take them one at a time. We have a letter from Dawn Twamala suggesting several things that we should be addressing. One of them being we take them one by one. The first one is the sidewalk markings across both driveways need to be completed. Any problem with that? I don't imagine there'd be.
No, that's still part of the original approval, which we will do as soon as the final payment is down.
Well, let me ask you, do you have any objection to any of these others? The second is drain line coming from CB7 to the existing catch basin on Daniel Webster Highway needs to be removed. The line now continues along the building and is totally self-contained within the lot. This was approved by the DPW, so
Yes, those improvements have already been made, so that line has been taken
see,
away.
that's no problem.
It was approved the day after we submitted these plans. That's
Okay.
why it still shows here, but that certainly is no problem. We met on site with DVW.
The granite curbing at both entrances was removed at the request of DPW. I guess you shouldn't have any problem with that.
Correct.
Then the swale directing drainage from DW Highway to the catch basin needs to be shown enlarged as agreed so that the drainage can get to the basin.
And that's at the northerly entrance that I just mentioned, and that work is being done now.
Okay, so
do
you have no objection to any of these recommendations from Ms. Twamala, is that right?
That's correct.
So if we approve your plan with these would be changes to the plan, is that what they would be, amount to? Changes to your original plan? Oh, I know, I wanted to go back to this bollard business. That's not mentioned here, but that's what's on the agenda.
It's in the memo, yes.
It's in the memo, yeah, that mentions removal of some bollards that are in next to your building and replacing it with a split rail fence. Tell
no,
us
it's-
about that. What,
Two separate things. There were 3 bollards that were proposed in the original site plan,
yeah,
and they have not been installed.
Yeah,
And what we're asking for is for those not to be installed.
yeah,
The split rail fence is next to the building where some of the landscaping was supposed to be,
yeah.
which is just to visually break it up a little bit. It has
Yeah.
nothing to do with the bollards.
Okay, I thought they were in the same area. But, so, we approved a plan with some bollards on it, I think is what you're saying, and now you want to change that. Is that what I'm
Yes,
hearing?
but
Yeah.
what I'm not sure about is whether bollards were required. The applicant has requested not to have to put the bollards in,
Yeah,
but I don't know that it's a design requirement by the town. He's just asking for those not to be put in. But they were shown original plan, and that's why we're here now.
Casey, I'm seeing in the memo that staff has no concerns with not putting the bollards in, so I'm assuming that means that it was not contained in any kind of regulations or anything?
Right, so it's not in our regulations, but because it was drawn that way on the plan the first
Yeah.
time and approved, we have to hold them to that standard. But it's not specific in our site plan regulations as a requirement.
Okay.
it seems the bollards would serve to protect, if they are where I think they are, which is on the inside of the building, away from the street, and it's more to protect your building than anything of the town, so. Is that right, Casey? Have I got them in the right place?
I think the issue here is that staff maybe misunderstood the request here with the bollards, and we thought that the fence was in place of the bollards. So it sounds like there will be no protection at all, is that correct?
Correct. If the bollards come out, there's nothing against the three corners of the building where the bollards were proposed to be placed.
Okay. So that's new information for staff.
I'm assuming that would change staff's recommendation, then, is
Yeah.
what it seems.
Yeah, I don't think we have the regs to back up the requirement, but because that is the way it was approved on the plan originally.
Okay. Ms. Healy? Yeah, please.
So why don't you want to put the bollards in?
Okay. I've been there for 10 years, and I have about 700 or 800 customers that are storing high-end RVs and high-end cars. And I have never had any incidents in the 10 years that I've been there. My goal is to make this property be very user-friendly, and I don't want it to have an industrial look. And I think if you went out and walked around now, I think you would concur 100% that what I've done is very aesthetically pleasing, and we get nothing but good comments about the decisions that I have made over the last 10 years.
So what is on the building or near the building in between where those bollards would go? Because we wouldn't want anyone to back a truck into either the building
Well, if they
or a
got-
gas main or anything like that,
Well,
so.
it's no different than an expensive home. You put bollards at the end of the driveway. I mean, there's common sense here. These aren't big trucks coming in here. These are very expensive RVs, and they're very sensitive about backing them up. The last thing they want to do is hit anything. And the total risk is on me. If they hit it, I have to fix it, okay? But there's no trailer trucks. There's no 26-foot box trucks. There's none of that going in there. This is very light, innocuous traffic. And I want the facility to look top shelf. And the
Okay, but
bollard-
you had an issue where a little light van backed into your gas main over on the first building, I believe, where Amazon used to park their trucks.
That is correct. That was
So-
a problem way, way back, and things happen.
So is there anything in that area that's utility-wise, gas
No,
mains
the-
or otherwise, that if somebody backed into them, it would be an issue, not only for you, but for the whole neighborhood?
The gas is on the, is it the easterly side? It's not even where any traffic goes.
Mhm. And I understand your issue because I own a fifth wheel, so I got you.
Yeah.
just making sure that
Well,
you and the customer and the neighborhood
I am
are
very,
safe.
very sensitive about, life safety and making this property safe for vehicles. And I think my track record is pretty strong for the last 10 years, other than that one incident, okay, which stuff happens. It just happened,
That was a nasty one.
okay? But I don't anticipate that happening again. Could something happen?
Oh,
I suppose.
absolutely. Just making sure
But
that
the-
when
the
you
tr-
pull these out,
The
that
travel.
you're okay as well.
This pavement that goes around the building, okay, for the benefit of a potential fire truck that ever had to go back around there, in my opinion, nobody will ever go there, and that's where the gas comes in. So,
I'm just having trouble finding where those bollards were supposed to go.
there-
What sheet are you on?
That one.
There was a
What?
picture, there was a sketch somewhere.
They're on
I
sheet number
saw.
2.
Yeah, please.
So if you wanna flip to the next page
Yeah.
and remove proposed bollard right
I'm
here.
staring right
Yep,
at it.
yep,
Thank you,
yep.
Casey.
And by the way, just as an added comment, I built the building. It's a pre-engineered steel building, and these columns are solid I-beams. So if something did back in, it would damage the cosmetic covering, but the building's not gonna get knocked down, if that's people's concern.
Mr. Chairman, I would have no problem removing the bollards. As far as the town's interest in this is concerned, I think it's on him, and he's accepting it and as a risk, and I have no problem with you taking that on and not getting the town involved in it. So I would have no problem removing the bollards. I guess I and the applicant has no problem conforming to these things that Ms. Twamala has brought to our attention. And what else is the,
The pavement.
is there anything else that's requested in this memo?
The pavement
The
striping.
pavement.
Oh, the pavement
The
striping, the arrows?
directional arrows, not the crosswalk, but the directional arrows.
Yeah, just the direction. Yeah, the crosswalk is part of the recommendations,
painted.
and we
Yep.
need that. That's for safety of pedestrians. But the arrows on the pavement,
Yeah, I don't have
I
an
would,
issue with
I
that.
have no problem.
Again, if you're looking at on the plan, it shows, it must be 10 feet, 12 foot by a foot arrow, enter. Then there's another coming out exit. It's just, we don't need that. This isn't this isn't a Microsoft complex, okay? Nobody's gonna get lost. It's something that I think takes away from the appearance of the building, so I prefer not to do it.
I would have no objection removing those arrows. It's,
Mr. Disco, not that I don't disagree with you, but Casey, do you need staff now that you have a different understanding of the proposal to change any of your, for the record?
Nope, I don't
You're
feel the need.
okay?
Nope.
Okay. Yeah, Mr. Disco, I wouldn't disagree with that.
Yeah.
I don't have an issue with taking them out.
in that case, are you ready for a motion, or maybe somebody else wants to speak?
We would have to open up the public discussion first.
Oh, okay, right, yeah.
Casey, we're not seeing any waivers here, right? It's just an amendment to a previously,
Yeah, the way that we process this is actually a waiver from the full site plan review process, so a motion for that as well.
so, okay. Do you want to make a motion on that, members, before we open up the public hearing?
Okay, I will so move that we waiver the requirement for full site plan review for these minor
Based
changes.
on,
Based on unnecessary hardship it would cause to the applicant for what we're asking to do.
there you go, motion made by Mr. Disco, do I hear a second? Seconded by Mr. Dano. Any further discussion? All in favor of the waiver of full site plan review, say aye.
Aye.
Aye, all opposed, all abstaining, that's 4-0 to waive full site plan review. That being said, I would now like to open up the public hearing at 8:29. Any members of the public that wish to step forward and speak on this issue, please do so. If applicants could just,
Is this on?
no, yeah, you're right there. If you would just want to introduce yourself, name, address. and then
Absolutely.
please
Good
read it.
evening. My name is Jim Bailey. My address is number 9 Greenfield Drive in Merrimack. I am a lifelong resident of Merrimack. Some of you may remember working at the old Zyla's building growing up. I sure did. And it was rather frustrating to see after the Zyla's family retired, no one really took it over, and I watched that building just start to sink into the ground, and it was kind of frustrating. I was very appreciative of Mr. Morgan's vision of that building, of what he's done with it. It might be a little thing, but on my way to work, from the north end of town to my work, I take pride in looking at people's landscaping, whether it's a residential homeowner that's put hours and hours into it. I appreciate that work. And to watch this building come to life like it has, I really appreciate what he's done to that place. I've been inside the building, and it's just as sharp and organized. There's striping inside the building of where to park the vehicles. That's how top shelf this gentleman has done to this building. I was fortunate enough to spend a few years in the fire department myself. I drove fire engine, and if our fire department is okay with using that material out back, I would trust their judgment on that as well. So I'm just here tonight to speak in favor. What a great job that building has been, and I think if we can cut him a little bit of slack tonight, that's awesome. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Bailey. Do we hear anybody else like to speak? Please introduce yourself and then tell us what you have.
Good evening, Board. My name is John Paul. I've been a resident here for 30 years. 3 Sunnydale Drive, which afforded me the ability to look at Zyla's for 20 years. The candy cane house, and I couldn't agree with Mr. Bailey anymore. You know, he really has done such a wonderful job making this place something we can be proud of going by. What was once an eyesore that we could get our duct tape and everything else has really turned into a place that we can all be proud of. And I support Mr. Morgan in anything he's done. I think he's meticulous. I've just watched in 2 weeks and what an incredible job he's done on landscape and everything else. And he truly is a person that's concerned with the community and making things look sharp, and I think he's really done such a fantastic job. I'm just here to offer my support as well. That's all I've got to say.
Thank you, Mr. Paul.
Thank you.
Any other members of the public wish to speak? Ma'am, if you please.
Hi, I'm Patty Banning, and I live in 19 Abernathy Circle, which is Overlook. We've only been here a year, but I thank Mr. Morgan for my sidewalk, because I walk every day, and I walk on DW, and it's a very safe place right now in front of Mr. Morgan's area. And a lot of this places, but I do run into a little places along the road, but I saw the sidewalk sign going up, and I'm saying, no way. But it came true, and the sidewalk is there, and I appreciate it every day. So thank you, Mr. Morgan.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Manning. Any other members of the public wish to speak? Seeing none, I'm going to close the public hearing. What? That's the applicant. I'm going to close the public hearing at 8:33. Board members, do we have any further questions for the applicant?
I have no more, Mr. Chairman.
Willing to entertain a motion?
Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
I just wanted to clarify, I know we went down through the 4 things we're talking about. I just want to make sure that the area where we're proposing to not do the landscaping on the southwest corner of the building, I just want to make sure that's part of what the motion is going to be. I know we talked about the bollards, we talked about
That
the
is on.
directional arrows. I just want to bring it up to make sure it's there. And we
Correct. You
certainly
have it on the
will
drawings.
consent to do the engineer's letter saying that there'll be no increase in runoff.
Yes, that will be a part of the
Okay.
the conditions. And I
Yeah.
do see that you have removed pavement, loam, and seed lane on drawing, so that, yes, that will be a part of it. Anything else, board members? Mr. Disco, you had something to say?
No, I was going to make a motion to approve the suggested changes as documented by Don Twamala and include removal of arrows, which she did not, and there was one other thing.
The staff memo for the letter from the PE.
Yep.
For the drainage.
That's in the
staff memo.
That's what I'm approving it with all of these conditions added to the staff conditions.
Correct.
And including removal of the arrows.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought there might be one more thing that I've forgotten, but if
I think
not.
that's it, the bollards, the arrows.
Well, there was the letter
The
approving
landscaping.
the increase in impervious surface and stormwater report.
Well,
Yeah.
yes,
Okay, so-
that,
Yeah, so I'll have to add that
that
condition
will
in
be
because it's not
added,
written
by the
right
staff,
now.
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So with those conditions, then, I'm making a motion to approve the plan.
Motion made by Mr. Disco. Do I hear a second? Seconded by Ms. Healy. Any further discussion? None being seen. All in favor of the motion made by Mr. Disco signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed, all abstaining. That's 4-0-0. Casey, you got all that?
Okay.
Thank you very much,
Thank you.
Mr. Morgan.
Thank you all for coming.
Next item on the agenda is item 8, discussion and possible action regarding other items of concern. Casey, do we have any tonight?
There's a request from Bob, who could not be here tonight. He wanted to let the board know that next week is the planning board's annual meeting with town council. Bob usually goes to this town council meeting and makes a presentation to keep town council in the loop of what the board's been up to. He just wanted to ask if the board had any comments that, to make to town council.
No, I was planning on going. I'm not sure how long he'll be.
Yeah, what, what,
Oh, right, that's a good point. I don't
Yeah.
know how long he'll be
I was
positive,
planning
yeah.
on going to the meeting anyways.
Yeah.
is that the 26th?
Yes. It's
Thursday.
Thursday, obviously.
Yeah, okay.
I'm sure you will. Thank you, Miss Haley. Was it all, Casey?
Yep, that was it.
Okay. I just put away my, we had minutes here somewhere. There they are.
Yes, there are many.
Now on to the approval of the minutes from Tuesday, May 3rd, 2022. Any edits? Any motions to be made?
No changes by me. And thank you for the new rules of procedure. Good to get a copy of that every now and then.
Mm-hmm.
And now I gotta put it somewhere where I'll remember where it is.
I move to approve the minutes as written.
Motion made by Mr. Dano. Do we hear a second?
Second.
Seconded by Ms. Healy. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor of approving the minutes, say aye. Aye. All opposed, all abstaining, that's 4-0-0. Now that I can't find my agenda, I'm assuming we're on to, there it is, adjournment. Do I hear a motion? So moved by Ms. Healy, seconded by Mr. Disco. All in favor of adjournment, say aye. Aye. All opposed, all abstaining.
Oh.
Abstaining, Mr. Dano.
I'm abstaining
wants to
by
stay here all night.
Oof, God bless.
Do you want to change that vote?
Yeah, it's whatever. leave it.
4-0-0 for adjournment.
Yeah.
Thank you, everybody. Have a good night. Please to make sure that your microphones are turned off.